So what if I told you that time, the seconds, minutes, and hours that pretty much run our lives, what if it's all just an illusion? Today, we're diving into this really wild idea that time isn't a river flowing past us, but this single, massive, eternal ocean. And our guide for this journey is the incredible scholar Mahamahopadhyaya Dr. Dravid. We're drawing from his insights in a talk he gave in Hindi, and trust me, it's going to challenge everything you think you know about time.
You know this feeling, right? That minute you spend waiting for the microwave to ding feels like an absolute eternity. But then, an entire hour with your best friends? Poof, it's gone in what feels like a second. This super common experience, how time seems to stretch and shrink, well, that's our doorway into a really deep philosophical puzzle.
I mean, think about it. We use words like fast, in Sanskrit, shigara, and slow, or vilamba, all the time. But really, what do they mean? They're just comparisons. The person who took 10 minutes is only slow compared to the person who took 5. It all begs the question, what are we actually measuring against? What's the master clock here? And that is the central mystery, isn't it? When you say 5 minutes, you're pointing to some kind of invisible, universal stopwatch that we all seem to agree on. But what is that thing? To even begin to get an answer, we have to step outside our normal way of thinking and dive deep into ancient Indian philosophy. Okay, so let's start with a school of thought called Nyaya-Vaisheshika. And get ready because they came up with a truly mind-bending idea about what time really is. It basically flips our whole everyday understanding right on its head. So here's their radical idea. They said that time, or kala as they called it, isn't a sequence of events. It's not something that flows. No, they argued it's a fundamental substance, a dravya, just like space is a substance. So don't think of it as a river, think of it as the bedrock of reality itself. A single, unchanging container that holds everything that has ever happened or ever will happen. This absolute time, which they called mahakala, has 3 main qualities. First, it's eka, meaning it's just one single thing. Second, it's nitya, it's eternal, with no beginning and no end. And finally, it's vibhu, which means it's all-pervading. It exists everywhere, all at once. So yeah, forget the river, we're talking about a single, motionless ocean that contains all of reality. Now, to help us wrap our heads around this, they used a fantastic analogy. Think about space. We don't think the space in your living room is different from the space outside. It's all just part of one single continuous space, or akasha. Well, these philosophers said that's exactly how you should think about time. There's just one all-encompassing time. Okay, but hold on. That brings up a huge problem, right? If time is just one big, static ocean, then why do we experience it as seconds, minutes, and days flowing by? Well, the answer lies in this absolutely brilliant concept that connects that huge cosmic idea to our daily lives. And the key to the whole thing is this concept called upadhi. You can think of an upadhi as a conditioning agent. It's some external event that we use as a reference point to mentally chop up that single ocean of time into useful bits and pieces that we can actually work with. Let's take a super simple example, how we create a day. So you've got this eternal, undivided time just existing. But then we notice something, an event. We see the sun rise, travel across the sky, and rise again. That cycle of the sun becomes our upadhi. It doesn't actually slice time into pieces, but it gives our minds a marker. And that marked off segment, that's what we call one day. Literally every unit of time we use works like this. Here's a mind-blowing example from the original talk. Think about the Himalayas. They exist right now in this present moment. So how can we say they were here 2,000 years ago? The mountains are still here. They haven't gone anywhere. Well, what's happened is we're just connecting the mountains to a specific upadhi, a time marker called 2,000 years ago. And that marker is what's gone. The object is here. The reference point is in the past. So if time is this invisible, all-powerful substance, how do we even know it's there, This very question led to a huge debate between the Nyaya school and another group called the Mimamsa school. And let me tell you, their answer was completely different. See, the Nyaya thinkers said, look, time has no shape, no color. You can't see it. You can only infer that it exists because you see things moving and changing. It's a logical conclusion. But then the Mimamsa school came along with a counter-argument that really changed the whole game. This pretty much sums up the debate. On one side, you have Nyaya, saying we know time through anumana, or inference, but on the other side, you have Mimamsa, saying we know it through prateksha, direct perception. That's right, they argued that we can actually see time. So how on earth do you see time? Their answer is just stunning. They said that when you look at anything, a cup, a tree, anything, you're not just seeing its color and its shape. You are also directly perceiving its presentness. For them, the present moment isn't some abstract thought. It's a real, tangible quality of an object, just like its texture. This classic line sums up their whole philosophy. It basically means there is no perception in the world in which time does not appear. In other words, for the Mimamsa school, time isn't just a quiet background for reality. No, it's a vibrant, living quality that's woven right into the fabric of every single thing you see. All right, so how do we square all this? How do we take this idea of an eternal ocean of time and connect it with the fleeting moments of our own lives? How do we get from the cosmic scale all the way down to our human scale? And these philosophers were obsessed with getting this right. They got so granular in their analysis, they figured out that even the simplest action, like a pen moving from one point to another, isn't instantaneous. It actually requires a sequence of at least 4 tiny, irreducible micro-moments. They called them kshanas for that action to even happen. Incredible, right?
And this is where it all comes together beautifully. That upadhi, the marker we use, is totally flexible. It just depends on our frame of reference, which they called vivaksha. So for us, the present could be one of those tiny micro moments, or it could be this entire day, or heck, it could even be this entire year. It's all about the scale you choose to look at.
So what this really means is that all of us are walking around with 2 different clocks running at the same time. There's the big one, the absolute, unchanging clock of Kala, that eternal ocean, and then there's the practical, everyday clock that we create for ourselves using the events of our lives as the tick-tocks. Which leaves us with one final big question to think about. That clock on your phone or on your wall, the one we all depend on, it's just another upadhi. It's a tool we invented to create markers. So the next time you look at it, ask yourself, are you really seeing time itself? Or are you just seeing the shadow cast by a single, eternal, and totally invisible reality?